Hey, you guys. I want to welcome you to taking your time and actually watching and subscribing to my channel. If you haven't done so already, please give the thumbs up, like, and subscribe to get updates on new videos I might post or information I might put up. Um, my channel is basically to advocate for people who are finding themselves in situations with the Child Protection Service. Depending on what state you're in, it might be called, the CHFS, Children's Health and Family Services, DCBS, CPS. They have various names that they go by, and some people they don't have too nice of names that they're called. However, I did a video previously about the top 15 tricks that the DCBS will try to pull, especially if you're not aware of what it is that they actually do, or if this is your first time involved with the system. They really like to take advantage of people like that. But this video, I'm actually going to give you the 15 um, tips that you can do that will protect you and your children. Again, let me do this disclaimer. This is not in any way, shape, or form any type of legal advice. I am not a lawyer. I do not represent anybody. This is just actual advice that I wish somebody would have gave me, and you are free to look this stuff up on the internet and educate yourself. That is what my channel is about, empowering and educating people who are dealing with the CPS. And the more knowledge you have and the more you educate yourself, the more powerful you become and the more of a threat you become to the DCBS. And the more you know, the less they're able to do to you. Because some things that the DCBS will do are irreversible. And save yourself the time, save yourself the heartache, and just educate. Educate, educate, educate. I cannot stress that enough. So we'll just jump right into it. First, let me say that you need to check the laws in your state to see what it is on some of the things that I talk about. I will bring up the fact that you all need to record any conversation you have with a worker or a doctor if you're going to visit a doctor, a therapist. I know I live in Kentucky, and our law states that it's not illegal for us to record a conversation without someone knowing it, as long as we are in the conversation. But if you tell the person that they are subjected to video or audio monitoring and they don't have anything to hide, they shouldn't have any problems with it, so to speak. So for people who are in states where it is illegal to record someone without their knowledge, you could post a sign on your front door that anyone that is on the premises is subject to video and audio monitoring. And they have a choice of whether they want to enter or not. And if it's in your home and they are aware that they are subjected to that, then there's nothing they can say about it. If you're like Kentucky, then you are free to record any conversation you have with anyone without them knowing it. And if you just wanted, just to let them know, you can still let them know that you're recording the conversation and they can't do nothing about it either. They'll be a lot less likely to try to pull any type of tricks if they know they're being recorded or monitored. So that is one of the first things I wanted to discuss. Secondly, to stop some of these other issues that I'm going to discuss, there is a thing that they call the reverse Miranda. And I'm sure a lot of you all are familiar with the Miranda rights. And basically that gives you the right to remain silent and to, not speak with law enforcement or government officials, and a right to an attorney. Well, this is the reverse Miranda. And I will put the links in the description box so you can have access to this and, review it for yourself. What I have done is I have printed off a card. I don't know if you all can see it. You can read it for yourself when you click on the link and go to the web page. But basically what this does is you have to explain this to your child as well. There's a letter that I've also included the link in the description that you can print off and sign, and you can file it with the school your child goes to, and it will go into their school file. I personally have it notarized. You don't necessarily have to have it notarized, but it does make it more official, and there really can't be anything said about that once it's notarized. But you take it to the school and talk to any of the staff members, that's in the office, and you have them make the teachers aware of the Miranda letter, and you also have it put in your child's file. What it says is that the school is not allowed to remove your child from class or to allow your child to speak to anyone, especially government officials or government workers such as social workers or police officers, without first notifying you and you being present. Because what the social workers like to do is they like to sneak and go to a child's school, and they will pull them out of class, and then they will sit and interrogate them and question them without your knowledge and without you being there. And it just makes it easier for them to be able to manipulate the child, or use fear and scare tactics if the parent's not present. So that letter is very vital. It could stop a lot of this stuff from happening to begin with. If they come to your house, you don't have to let them in. And if you're on your own private property, it is illegal for them to talk to your children alone without your consent. So that's why they like to go to schools or daycares and things like that. So click the link, get it filled out, take it to your child's school, and fill one out. If you have several children, fill one out for each child. As far as this little card goes, I went to Walmart and I bought the laminate paper. You can get them individually, 4 card size. And I printed out the paper off from the link that I'm going to give to you guys. And I basically typed my information in and made my own card. You all can handwrite it, do whatever suits you. But it basically states you give this to your child, and if they were to be approached by the principal or a teacher and they try to remove them from class to go speak to someone, or if a social worker comes to their class and wants to talk to them, they have this card. And again, you have to explain the situation to them and explain what it is they need to say and why, for it to be effective. But if they are approached, they can hand this card to the adult. And what it states is basically they're invoking their amendment to remain silent. And it tells them that they must contact you and that they want to speak to their parents immediately. On the other side, it gives all the contact information, phone numbers, things like that, of who the government official, police officer, whomever it might be. It gives them the contact information for them to contact your parent or their parents. So if after being presented this card, they still question your child, or they try to retaliate or scare your child into talking, the only thing your child has to say is, I have a right to remain silent. And I have a right to remain silent. That's the only thing that needs to come out of their mouth. And typically they will be left alone. And if it's very serious and important, then I'm sure they will contact you. If they're trying to be sneaky and pull some type of trick, then you probably won't hear about it until your child gets home and tells you about it. But basically, on the card, it has the date that I made the card, and it has to any agent, officer, or representative of the government. And then it has my child's name on it. And it says, "You are hereby informed that I have a right to remain silent. I am now exercising that right, and I request that you contact my parents immediately at the number that's listed on this card. Any questioning of me after I give you this card constitutes a voluntary waiver of any protections or immunity you may have under law. It also is an admission that you have harassed me, illegally coercing me into talking after I have declined to do so. If you believe that you have legal reason to hold me, it must be for one of two reasons. Number one, you believe I have information relevant to a case or investigation and you need my help, and I will in no way obstruct justice. Simply type up your questions and contact my parents. Upon review by them and our attorney, I will answer all that they and our attorney advise me to. Number two, you believe that I have committed a crime. I want to speak with my parents and or our attorney. I do not wish to answer any questions or make any statements until I do so. Please do not ask that I fill out, sign, initial, check off, or mark anything for any reason. I have been forbidden to do this by my parents until they and or their attorney can review any such documents. I shall be allowed to drink, eat, and use the bathroom as often as needed. Finally, please do not interpret my silence as rudeness, guilt, or anything else other than obedience to my parents and their attorney. Thank you, Miranda versus Arizona. Which Miranda versus Arizona is the case that went to the Supreme Court that actually began the Miranda rights. So, your child should know when to, give this to somebody. I bought a little keychain, a hole punch a hole in it, and hooked it to the keychain. And this just allows me to hook it to their book bag, or their jeans if they're wearing jeans. If for some reason it's on their book bag and they don't have it, they could be at lunch or out at recess when someone approaches them. Make your child aware that all they have to say is that they have a right to remain silent. Contact my parents. I don't care, like I explained to my child. It don't matter if they tell you they're trying to help your mommy and daddy, if they tell you that your mommy and daddy is going to go to jail if you don't answer their question. They can try to scare you, whatever the question might be. It could be what you had for lunch. Whatever questions you are asked by an official or a social worker or something like that, all you say is that you have a right to remain silent, to please contact my parents. But otherwise, that's what this card is for. There's also another letter that you can print off. I'll put the link on here. It's the Hatch letter. And basically, it's to put on file at your school. And you can customize it, to whatever your beliefs might be. Basically, it's to keep the school from teaching or informing your child of things that you necessarily might not believe in, or you don't think it's appropriate for them to learn at a certain time, and it leaves it up to you as to when they are taught certain things. It could prevent, them from learning about sex education. It could be suicide, any type of self-questioning, things like that. Just take the time out to read it and you'll see what I'm trying to say. But it prevents the school from being able to, educate them or give them any type of curriculum that's based on things that you don't want them to know. And you just basically put these on that letter, give it to the school, and they have to notify you if there's any type of education or classes going on regarding that material. So, with that covered, the first thing I wanted to say about tips you can do to protect yourself. There's probably more than 15. 15 sounded like a good number. Number one, if they come to your house, if they have no warrant, they are not allowed to enter your house. You do not have to let them in. In some cases, they might say, well, I at least need to see the child. Well, you can bring them to the front of the door through the peephole, and they can see your children. You can crack the door and let them look at your children, but you don't even have to do that. Just like any type of police officers has to have a warrant to come into your home, they also need a warrant to come into your home. And you might live in a state that has a law that don't require social workers to have a warrant, but the Constitution of the United States overrides any state laws, and the Constitution says that they need a warrant. So, if they come to your house, you don't have to answer any questions. You can tell them that you're going to speak to your attorney. Basically, you don't have to answer their questions. You can say, I have a right to not answer your questions. I don't have to answer your questions. And no, you're not coming in my house until you go get a warrant. That makes them do their job. Number one, they're just trying to get in your house so they can accumulate evidence on you and things to use against you. And believe me, the bar for neglect and abuse with social workers is set so low, they can find anything. It could be, dirty dishes in the sink, or you might not have had a chance to clean up the house after, a long day of work. They can find just about anything that they can use to constitute neglect or abuse. So they're trying to get in your house to get information. Do not make their job easy. If it's serious, they will go get a warrant, and it's not going to be too hard for them to do so. They might even show up with a police officer to intimidate you. A police officer still has to have a warrant, and police officers have better jurisdiction than a social worker does. So again, if a police officer must have a warrant to come into your house, so must they. So make them get a warrant before you just let them come in and gather evidence on you. Number two, you need to record everything, as I said in the beginning. Again, get to know your state laws. You can post a sign on your door, and it needs to say that anyone that enters are subject to video or audio monitoring. You can send a certified letter. And when I say certified, that's basically something that you get done at the post office, and it just confirms that whoever you sent it to received this letter, so they can't deny that you sent it to them or they didn't know or whatever the case may be. And let me see. And the letter basically will say that, calling or visiting you might be recorded, so they are aware of it. If they object to being recorded, they can communicate with you through written media, basically email. And that's what I use. I didn't in the beginning because I really wasn't aware that I was going to have to monitor and document as much as I had to. I thought these people were for me and supposed to help me, and I learned very quickly that wasn't the case. So for the longest time, I didn't have any proof or documentation, which I wish I had. It would have proved a whole lot more in my case. Although I won, it still probably would have proved a whole lot more than what it did. You can also get apps through Google Play for your cell phone. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, depending on which kind of phone you have. But there's certain applications that you can download. Some are free. Some you might have to pay for. But they will record your phone conversations. And you can set them to record certain phone numbers. You can exclude certain phone numbers because, of course, you're not going to want to record, every time, you call the store or you call Walmart or you talk to your boyfriend. You're not going to record all those. So you can set, certain numbers to not record. It's also some's got backup service to where it will save to the cloud. It will save to, OneDrive, your SD card, your email. There's all sorts of backup, apps that they have for those. So your phone's not bombarded with tons of messages that you had to save. Some, actually have the option of, after you hang up with a phone call conversation, it'll give you the option of saving it or discarding it. So that way you don't have a lot of, stupid, useless little, conversations taking up space on your phone. But one of the favorite apps that I have is called Boulder Beast. And I really like that product. I have the let me double check. I have the pro version. I want to make sure I'm telling you the right name. Uh, and it cost me $9.99 through Google Play. But yes, Bold Beast is what it's called. And I will show you the symbol. This right here, I'm trying to see. This little paw print. I'm trying to get it to focus. It won't. There we go. That paw print is Bold Beast. There you go. And you just punch in Bold Beast and you can find it or whatever. But it is really good with my phone. I have an Android Motorola. So, but there is tons. There's ACR Pro, Call Cube, Call Recorder 2018. But you have to test. If you use a free version, make sure you do that before you buy one. A lot of them will work for a little bit, but if it's a long conversation, some of the voices might be distorted, or it will just, record your voice and not the other party's voice. So you have to, test them out, see which one works best for your phone, your phone's make and model as well. So after about six applications, I have settled with Bold Beast, and I done the free version for a couple weeks before I actually bought it, because there was a couple that I did buy, and later on it didn't work on my phone. So you do that, and you can set it up to, record the conversations with your social worker or their supervisor or anything like that. And you can also just email your concerns back and forth, and that way you have proof that you stayed in touch with them. You've got proof of what was said to you. Important questions you might have, you'll have that as documentation, and you can print those off as well. So email is a very good resource that don't cost anything. But some people I know aren't tech savvy, and they might not, know how to do the internet and email stuff. So there's just several ways you can protect yourself, document and record things. It's just whatever suits you and is easiest for you. But make sure that you record and document everything that you do. Number 3, go on to your DCBS website for your state, and you can print off the SOP manual, Standards of Procedures. At least that's what it's called here. But they have a manual, and you can even you can write to them and request a copy of it. You have a right to receive a copy of that. So, if you haven't received the copy of the manual or a response after you've asked for it, give it 5 to 7 days. Contact your regional office and let them know that you've been denied a manual. And I'm pretty sure you should get one pretty quickly. But you know, get that manual, go through it, see what their procedures are, see what they have to do, things that they don't have to do. And by educating yourself on that, then you know what rights you have. And for instance, I didn't know that I should have been allowed to go to my daughter's doctor visits with her, her dentist appointments, school functions, things like that. And they're not going to tell you this stuff. You know, they want to keep you from your child. They say the goal is reunification, but it's not. Do not trust them or believe that. Um, if you are unfortunate and you are going through this stuff, Google social service corruption and you will keep yourself busy for there's nonstop reading and information regarding corruption, the adoption mills, the funds that they receive, tactics, self-help, links and websites. There's so much information out there. Please, Google this stuff before you think they're your friend and before you try to do stuff on your own. Even just like watching this video and taking notes is protecting yourself. And you have got to protect yourself because they are not going to do it for you. Anything that you send written, it costs a little extra to do it at the post office, but try to send it certified. That way you have proof that you have sent it. They can't say that they didn't receive something. They can't say that you haven't been in touch with them, because that is one of the, I don't want to say laws, but that's one of the requirements here, at least, that you stay in contact. I think you have to contact the worker here at least once a month. And that's one of the things the worker kept saying about me, that, I was avoiding the agency and I changed my phone number. She couldn't contact me, blah, 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 blah. So it was my word against hers. And they always believe the social worker. So just make sure you have proof. If you can't afford to certify it, take pictures on your phone of what you're sending. Take pictures of the stamped envelope, with the address. Do as much as you can to keep documentations of things that you send out. Again, use email to correspond back and forth and to use that as proof of correspondence, okay? Next, I have ask your worker what the complaint process is. What information do you need if you need to file a complaint? Most likely, you're supposed to be given a form that tells you how to file a complaint, and the worker's supposed to tell you that she'd even help you fill it out if you need help. But I necessarily, if my problem is with that worker, I wouldn't trust having that worker help me fill it out. It might not reach its destination. So find out from the worker, or you can call, your state's ombudsman, or even the receptionist at the social service office. They can even tell you this information. So get that information, write it down, and I don't know what number it is, but I have it wrote in here as well. Another thing, go to Walmart or the dollar store and get you notebooks. Get some notebooks, paper-wise. Get a few of these. Let me show you. I'm sorry. Get a few of these binders. I've got binders every single where. I got binders everywhere. I've got notebooks everywhere. And, keep this stuff organized. Put stuff in chronological order. Anything that you send to them, or anything that is relevant to your case, anything you do, whether it's counseling, drug testing, school information, always keep a copy for yourself. Get you a little hole punch. punch it, stick it in your folder. If you can't, maybe you can't afford to buy hole punch and all that stuff, buy you just a regular folder with pockets and throw it in there. Take your little notebooks and keep a written log of when you've called the worker, what was said, when you had your doctor's appointments, what your visitation days were. Write down everything that's taken place regarding your case. And if you've got it recorded, if it's on video, your emails, all of that stuff, print them off, throw it in the folder. Keep all of that stuff. And that way, again, you have all the information you need to defend yourself against any worker trying to be, crooked or corrupt or trying to do something malicious. You have all the proof, and they can't do shit to you if you protect yourself. So, again, get those files and folders and put any piece of documentation you have into those folders. You can go, let's see, another big thing. You might not have as that many records already like in your file, and you might want to do this periodically throughout your case, but in the beginning, do an open records request. You have a right by law to your files and to your case files, your internal files. I don't know what the procedures are for other states, but for here, there's two different documents that we have to either get from the social worker, or you can go online and find them yourself. I know for Kentucky, it is a CHFS 305 is the document needed to fill out to get the open records request. And you'll need one of those papers for you and one for each child. But you fill those out and you send them in, and if you've got your case number, you'll need to know that. If there's something specific you're requesting, you can put that in the spaces provided. What I did is, in the biggest letters I could, I just put I wanted all documentation associated with case number, blah, 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 blah. So what will happen is if it's 20 pages or less, they will send it to you at no cost. Your first 20 pages are free. Anything after that is 10 cents a copy plus postage. So if it exceeds the 20 pages, they will send you a letter telling you how much is required, and once you send them a money order, they'll send your files to you. So I have done this 5 times throughout 2.5 years. It just monitors what they are saying and what they are doing. They had went and put false allegations on me, and by doing an open records request, I was able to see what they were saying, what exactly they said to get an investigation on me, and things like that. So it's very, very important that you do that so you know how to prepare your defense. And if you're fortunate like I was, you are able to look at these documents, study them, and use them to compare against other documents, times, dates, conversations, and you can find the contradictions. You can find where the lies began and things like that, or they might have falsified something. They might have altered a document. Anything is possible. So you want to do this periodically throughout your case, because the longer you have a case open, the more documents you're going to have. And be sure, I know with our documents, our request papers, they have a number on there that you can contact the records unit. After receiving my documents and my case file, I called them to make sure that that was all of my records, because I have been trying to get all of my records for a year now. And I explained to the lady that if there was any other files that I may need a judge's order for or something like that, to let me know, so I can get the judge's order. But, if not, I wanted to make sure this was all of my files. And, they will tell you if it is, or if you need to get, judge's permission for other orders or documentation. So, be your own attorney. Use the attorney that you're appointed, to talk for you and speak when you need to, because that attorney might not always say what you need them to say or do what you need them to do. So don't be afraid to represent yourself. Don't be afraid to ask the judge if you can speak freely. Don't be like me and think that the social worker is going to help you and your lawyer is going to represent you to the fullest extent and not say anything. I was actually scared to speak up because I was already being made to look like a piece of crap, and, I was really scared that this judge, would yell at me or, do something else, and this is my first time involved with this stuff, so I wouldn't say anything. And I can't help, every day to think that, if I possibly would have just spoken up, maybe I wouldn't have went through the extra bullcrap that I did. So just don't be scared to speak up and defend yourself. Um, let's see. Any appointments that you have, you're probably going to be given a case plan. Anything that it states for you to do, whether it's going to AA meetings, meeting with a counselor, a therapist, getting, mental health assessments done, parenting class, whatever it might be. Get documentation of every appointment you go to show, proof that you actually, came to your appointment, that, you were punctual, you showed up. Have them do a progress report on you after every week or 2 weeks, however you want to do it. But have them write a progress report, to let the courts know, your progress, how, whether you was in compliance. If it's drug tests, you might have to send another note or go to another medical records, office or something to request those. But make sure you get a copy of everything that you do. And getting character reference letters, any of these people, any of these doctors, therapists, whatever, they can write an additional letter, again, in your favor, just, telling whoever it might concern, good things about you and the progresses you've made. Same thing with drug tests. Make sure wherever you're taking drug tests at, that you ask them how you can get copies of them. Don't let them tell you that you can't. It is your medical records. It might be a process that you have to go through, and, it might cost you money. I don't know how that works, but you have a right to all of your information. So don't let anybody ever tell you that you don't have a right or they can't give them to you. And if they do deny you, let them know that you want something in writing stating that they denied those documents to you. If you can, join some type of family rights group. You can go online and Google family right groups. There are tons of them, and there's message boards. People, they might be in different states. There's some that's probably in your own state, and by getting on these message boards, you will find it'll save you a lot of time from having to research things, or there's stuff that you might learn that you didn't think of that will be very beneficial to you in your case. So it would not hurt whatsoever to join some type of message, family advocacy, self-help group. You could Google Fight CPS, Corrupt CPS, Protect Yourself Against CPS or social workers, and just read away and take notes, along the way. You cannot go wrong by doing that. Again, you want to keep a thorough timeline of everything that has said, done, that happens to you. Learn the court process for your state. learn what different hearings, you're going to have with your case. They won't tell you of all the hearings. Your social worker is supposed to tell you about your court dates, but they won't, or they won't always. I can't say every social worker is bad, but every time that I have encountered a worker, it's not been good. And I've not heard too many good stories, about the social workers, or the whole organization at all. But I know that there are good workers. And if you are fortunate to have a good worker, you are blessed. I still wouldn't trust them 100% either. I would always protect myself regardless. But they're not going to tell you certain court hearings. I know for me, after they took my daughter, there was a 72-hour emergency hearing. I didn't go to that because I wasn't made aware of it, which that looks bad on you. They use that against you for not showing up. It makes the courts, think that you don't care, that you're irresponsible, and whatever else they might want to think of you. And it just goes in the arsenal against you that these social workers have. I've included a link that will give you a state by state countdown of what certain hearings mean, the placements of them, what will go on, how long it's supposed to be before you get these certain hearings. I will include that link in the description box as well. Last one that I have right now is to keep in constant contact with your worker. At least contact them once a week. I know for me, I didn't really have anything to say to my worker, but, in the beginning, I didn't know what the rules were. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, what I wasn't supposed to do. But since I won my case and had the case vacated, I've made sure I've done things a lot different this time. And even if I don't have anything to say, I at least write her, just wanted to check in with you, let you know that things are going good this week. I've made it to all my appointments. I've done, everything that I was supposed to do. Just wanted to touch bases. Hope you have a good day. And, that's short and sweet. It just lets them know I'm in contact with them, and it can't be said that I wasn't in contact with them, or they couldn't reach me, or they didn't have my information, which has been said. And I make sure I print out every conversation that I do have with the worker. So there are tons more things that you can do to protect yourself. I don't have all the time in the world, and I definitely don't want you all getting burned out, sitting in front of a computer or watching your phone. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment, section, and if I know the answer, I will gladly answer it for you. If not, I will help you look for it. I will try to, research and see what I can find out about it. And if you have a story, of what you've went through or experienced, or if you're currently experiencing, trouble with the social service system, feel free to share your story. A lot of people don't realize how much this goes on. And when they finally figure out that it's very common and it's not just them, it does give you some sort of comfort knowing that there's people who empathize with you and people who know what it is you're going through. I know for me, a lot of people was making me or trying to make me feel like I was crazy and I was paranoid, and how dare I think that, something like this was going on. And then there was the group of people that basically looked down on me. They thought I was lying, that, there was something that I didn't do, and that's why the workers are doing what they're doing to me, or that I did abuse my child, and that's why I'm, getting done this way. And it's just very, very humiliating. So it's refreshing when you find out that, you're not alone and you do have a support system. So I am here for you. I'm here to help you. None of you all know me, but you can get to know me. And I will help advocate for you as much as I possibly can. And the more voices we can get together, the more noise we can make. And hopefully, we can get something done about this. So, justice for my daughter. I love you, Nevaeh. You will be home soon. I promise you, baby, you'll be home soon. Follow the links in my description, and if you need to contact me, there's my email and the Facebook group that I've made advocating for my daughter. So I hope you all have a great evening. Talk to you guys later. Y'all have a good night. Bye.